Good morning, doctor and fellow classmates. Today we are excited to present our biodiversity-based business proposal called the Sustainable Marine Reserve Fish Tank, or SMRFT. SMRFT is a conservation-driven enterprise that combines marine aquaculture, environmental education, coral reef restorations, and ecotourism into one integrated business model. Our business generates enough value to sustain itself without relying entirely on grants and donations. Today, we will explain the environmental problem, our business model, its impact on conservation, and how it remains financially sustainable in the long term. Before discussing our business, it is important to understand the problem we are trying to solve. Coral reefs are often referred to as the rainforest of the sea because of their extraordinary biodiversity. Although they cover less than 1% of the ocean floor, they support approximately 25% of all marine species. These ecosystems provide breeding grounds, shelter, and food resources for countless organisms. They also contribute significantly to tourism, fisheries, and coastal protection. However, coral reefs are facing increasing threats from climate change, pollution, habitat destruction, and exploitation. One major issue is the marine ornamental aquarium trade. Every year, between 20 and 24 million ornamental fish are traded worldwide, and more than 90% of these fish are still collected directly from wild coral reef ecosystems. At the same time, approximately 14% of global coral cover has been lost since 2009 due to coral bleaching and other human-induced pressures. As consumer demand for aquarium species continues to increase, natural reef ecosystems are being placed under tremendous pressure. Without intervention, these impacts may continue to threaten both marine biodiversity and the ecosystem services that reefs provide. The current aquarium trade creates both ecological and economic challenges. From an ecological perspective, excessive collection of ornamental fish can reduce local populations and disrupt ecological interaction within coral reef communities. Many species experience high mortality during capture, transport, and acclimation before they even reach the consumer. The removal of important reef species can also disrupt predator-prey relationships and affect the overall balance of the ecosystem. In addition, coral bleaching, pollution, and habitat destruction further reduce the ability of reefs to recover from these disturbances. From an economic perspective, declining reef health can negatively affect fisheries and tourism industries. Many coastal communities depend on healthy reefs for their livelihoods. As reefs worsen, fish population decline, tourism revenues decrease, and communities become increasingly vulnerable. Therefore, we need a solution that addresses both biodiversity conservation and economic sustainability at once.
Although these challenges are serious, they also present a valuable opportunity. Many conservation programs depend heavily on government funding, grants, and donation. While these initiatives are important, they often face financial limitation and uncertainty. Our proposal takes a different approach. Instead of viewing biodiversity solely as something that need protection, we view biodiversity as an asset that can generate sustainable economic value when managed responsibly. This concept forms the foundation of our bio-age. SMRFT creates a sustainable supply of marine ornamental species through captive breeding rather than wild creation. The revenue generated from these activities is then partially reinvested into conservation program. As the business grows, conservation efforts also grow. This creates a self-sustaining cycle where environmental protection becomes directly linked to business success. In our proposals, 15% of revenue generated from commercial activity will be reinvested into coral reef restoration, biodiversity monitoring, and conservation projects. This allows conservations to be continuously funded through market activity rather than relying entirely on external support. To address this issue, SMRFT operates through four main components. The first component is captive breeding of marine ornamental fish. Instead of harvesting fish from natural reef, we breed species in controlled environments. This reduces pressures on wild population while providing customers with healthy organisms that are better adapted to aquarium conditions. The second component is coral propagation and restoration. Coral fragments will be cultured in nurseries before being transplanted into restoration site. This contribute directly to reef recovery and biodiversity conservation. The third component is environmental education. Visitors can learn about marine ecosystem through aquarium exhibit, guide tour, and conservation workshop. The fourth component is ecotourism. Visitors can participate in conservation-focused experience while supporting environmental initiatives through entrance fee and activities. Together, these four components create a business model that balances conservation, education, and revenue generation. SMRFT creates values through a structural process. We begin with key resources such as a broodstock, recirculating aquaculture system, coral nursery, and trained personnel. These resources are used to carry out captive breeding, coral propagation, educational programs, and ecotourism activities. The output includes captive breed fish, cultural corals, conservation awareness, and employment opportunities. This output generates revenue while simultaneously reducing dependencies on wild harvesting. The result is a positive feedback loop. The more successful the business becomes, the more resource can be invested into conservation activity. This ensures that environmental outcomes and business outcomes support each other rather than compete against each other.
Our first business target four key customer segments. The first group is aquarium hobbyists. These consumer increasingly prefer sustainably sourced fish because they are healthier, more adaptable to aquarium environments, and ethically produced. The second group is aquarium retailers. Retailers require a reliable and consistent supply of quality ornament species. Captive breeding allows us to provide stable inventory without depending on unpredictable wild harvesting. The third group is educational institutions such as schools, universities, training centers. These organizations can utilize our facilities for educational visits, workshops, and research activities. Finally, ecotourism visitors represent an important market. Many tourists are increasingly interested in environmentally responsible tourism experience. By serving multiple customer groups, SMRFT reduces dependence on a single source of income and strengthens long-term sustainability. A major strength of SMRFT is its diversified revenue model. Our primary revenue comes from fish sales and coral sales. These products directly address demand within the aquarium industry while reducing pressure on natural ecosystems. Additional revenue is generated through educational visits, guide tours, workshops, training programs, and ecotourism activities. We also anticipate opportunity for research collaborations with universities and potential conservation grants. Having multiple revenue streams is important because it reduces vulnerability to market fluctuations. If demand decreases in one area, income from other activities can help maintain business operation. This diversified approach improves both financial stability and long-term resilience. SMRFT offers several competitive advantages compared to traditional aquarium suppliers. Most conventional suppliers depend heavily on wild-caught organisms. In contrast, our business focuses on captive-bred species and coral propagation. This provides a more sustainable source of marine organisms. We also emphasize transparency and traceability. Customers will know where their organisms come from and how they were produced. Furthermore, even purchase directly contributes to conservation initiative. This creates additional value for environmentally conscious consumers. As awareness about biodiversity conservation continues to grow, we believe demand for sustainable and ethical products will also increase. This position SMRFT strongly within an expanding market.
SMRFT follows the triple bottom line framework, which focus on people, planet, and profit. For people, the business creates employment opportunities for local communities in the area. Training programs such as in aquaculture, coral propagation, and ecotourism can help develop valuable skills and alternative livelihoods. As for planet, the business reduces harvesting pressure on wild populations while actively supporting coral reef restoration and biodiversity monitoring. For profit, multiple revenue streams ensure financial sustainability and business growth. By balancing these three dimensions, SMRFT demonstrates that environmental conservation and economic development do not need to be mutually exclusive. Instead, they can reinforce each other. An important aspect of our proposal is that conservation outcomes can be measured. We will monitor indicators such as number of captive bred organisms sold, coral survival rates, restored reef areas, and reduction in demand for wild-caught species. These indicators allow us to evaluate whether our activities are achieving meaningful conservation outcomes. Additionally, we commit to reinvest 15% of our revenue into conservation efforts. 5% will support coral reef restoration, 5% will support biodiversity monitoring, another 5% will support conservation projects. This ensures that conservation remains at the core of our business rather than just becoming a secondary objective. Like all businesses, SMRFT face risks. Climate change may increase coral bleaching events and reduce coral survival. Disease outbreaks could affect cultured fish and corals. And then, marketing fluctuation may reduce consumer demand, and there is also a risk that growing demand could encourage overproduction and threaten sustainability. To address these challenges, we will culture multiple species, prioritize resilient coral varieties, implement strict biosecurity protocols, and diversify our revenue streams. We will also utilize closed cycle breeding systems and sustainable certification to prevent overexploitation. These strategies help ensure that business growth never compromises conservation goals. As for exit strategies, we can turn it into education centers that have educational visits. Also, we can do as research centers with partnerships with NGOs and other universities. We can also transfer facilities if needed to them to our cooperation. In conclusion, SMRFT represents a practical example of how biodiversity conservation and entrepreneurship can work together. Our proposal demonstrates that protecting biodiversity can be financially sustainable while creating positive impact for local communities and future generations. That's all. Thank you.